Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also thank my good friend, the distinguished gentleman from the great state of New York, Representative Gregory Meeks, the once and future chair of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, for yielding and for his leadership, for his courage, his character, and his conviction, and his patriotism. How dare anyone on this floor question the patriotism of Greg Meeks or any member on our side of the aisle? And you know what often happens, my Republican colleagues, when they can't defend the merits of a particular situation, can't defend the fact that Donald Trump, as candidate, promised not to start any wars, but to stop them, his words, not ours. When you can't defend the fact that billions of dollars are being spent every day to drop bombs in the Middle East, but Republicans are unwilling to spend a dime to make life more affordable for the American people, when you can't defend the things that have taken place under this administration, the fact that the American people know life hasn't gotten better for them, life has gotten worse, life has gotten more expensive, less affordable. When you can't defend your policies, you question the patriotism of Democratic members of Congress. There are patriots on both sides of this conflict, of this issue. As a matter of fact, we know there are combat veterans on the Republican side and the combat veterans on the Democratic side who may share different views about the nature of this conflict. Jason Crow is a combat veteran. He opposes this reckless war of choice. Are you going to question his patriotism? Pat Ryan is a combat veteran who opposes this reckless war of choice. You question his patriotism? Mike Thompson served in Vietnam, combat veteran, opposes this reckless war of choice. Do you question his patriotism as well? Why don't you just argue the merits of your position as opposed to attacking the patriotism of people on the Democratic side of the aisle? When, as far as I'm concerned, the most patriotic thing that we can do is stand up to ensure that our men and women in uniform aren't being recklessly sent into a costly war of choice, more than 12 of whom have already lost their lives, hundreds of whom have been seriously injured. Let's just argue the merits of Donald Trump's reckless and costly war of choice, and stop the ad hominem attacks, which aren't a sign of strength. It's just a sign of Republican weakness in terms of your ability to persuade the American people as to why Republicans are on the right side of this unpopular war. Now, this war of choice, this reckless and costly war, was entered into without any plan, any objective, any exit strategy, any public support, and any approval of the United States Congress. Those are 5 different objective reasons to have a problem with what's going on in the Middle East right now.
That was Jeffries laying out the receipts. Iran stronger, gas at $4. Biggest monthly jump in 60 years. The GOP answer? Smear combat veterans. Subscribe to keep this war tracked daily. Now watch the rewind.
In fact, we're just trying to help Donald Trump bring to life his own words. That as president, he wasn't going to start wars in the Middle East. He was going to stop them. Donald Trump's own words. Question his patriotism? The reality is, this war costing the American people, taxpayers, billions of dollars a day, at the same time when Republicans are ripping health care away from the American people. This reckless war of choice costing the American people billions of dollars a day at the same time when costs are going up because of the Trump tariffs, thousands of dollars a year in additional expense that everyday Americans are paying. This reckless war of choice costing the American people billions of dollars a day, when at the same time, Republicans are unwilling to spend a dime to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits. This reckless war of choice costing the American taxpayer billions of dollars a day at the same period of time when grocery bills in this country are out of control. And far too many people are working hard, they're playing by the rules, but they're struggling to live paycheck to paycheck. Can't thrive and can barely survive. We're standing up for the American taxpayer and expressing support for this War Powers resolution so we can put an end to this costly and reckless war of choice. These are just some of the reasons why we oppose what is taking place right now. And in fact, there are many who are now arguing in the public domain that as a result of what Donald Trump and Republicans have done over in the Middle East, Iran in some instances is stronger now than they were before, have effective control of the Strait of Hormuz. They didn't have that before, but now they do. And as a result, Americans are paying increased gas prices that are soaring more than $4 a gallon, the largest, in fact, monthly increase in gas prices from March to April than the country has seen in more than 6 decades. Just another reason to have a problem with Donald Trump's reckless war of choice. So I just ask my Republican colleagues, debate us on the merits. Enough with the ad hominem attacks. It's a sign of weakness, not strength. Take your position, we take our position. We feel very comfortable that we're standing on the side of the American people, standing on the side of the Constitution, standing on the side of the principle that if we're going to spend billions and billions of taxpayer dollars, it should actually be spent to make life more affordable for the American people, not plunge us into a reckless and costly war of choice that is actually making life more expensive for the American people in provable and tangible ways. Vote yes on the Meeks resolution so we can stop this reckless and costly war of choice and actually get back to doing the business of the American people and making their lives better, not worse.
That was not a floor speech. That was Jeffries reading Trump's campaign promises back to him while the body count climbed. Trump ran on ending wars in the Middle East. He started one, 12 Americans dead, hundreds injured. Iran now sits on the Strait of Hormuz. Gas prices clocked the biggest monthly jump in over 60 years. The GOP answer? Smear Jason Crow, Pat Ryan, and Mike Thompson. 3 combat veterans. That is panic, not strategy. When the receipts come out, you go after the people holding them. Trump promised no new wars. He delivered one with no plan, no exit, no vote, no public support. Every day this drags on, the price climbs, and the lie gets louder. The talking points are still standing. The record is not. Once the country sees how this started, the excuses do not survive the rewind. Like, subscribe, drop a comment. Tell me who else needs to answer for this war.